Welcome back to PodX Studio, everyone. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into current affairs.
All right.
And this deep dive is specially crafted for those of you who are new to the world of current affairs, especially if you're prepping for exams like the UPSC.
Right.
We're going to break down some of the most important events and their background to help you grasp those key takeaways.
All right.
Joining me today is an expert who can help us navigate these complex topics.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So,
understanding current events can feel overwhelming, especially with so much information coming at you from more directions.
Right.
But what we're going to do today is focus on one specific source, a PDF you've provided.
All right.
And we're going to break it down topic by topic. Make sure you understand not just what happened, but why it matters.
Okay, let's jump right in. The first topic that caught my eye in this PDF is the appointment of Delhi's new chief minister.
Okay.
Rekha Gupta. What makes this so interesting is that she's a first-time NLA.
Right.
That's a pretty big leap, going straight from being a member of the Legislative Assembly to the top job.
It is indeed, and it's a move that's generating a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
You see, traditionally, chief ministers have risen through the ranks, holding various ministerial positions before taking on the top job.
Right.
Gupta's appointment is a departure from that norm, and it signals a potential shift in how the BJP, the party in power, is approaching leadership selection.
So it's not just about who's the most popular or well-known figure, but about choosing someone who might fit a particular strategy.
Exactly. Now, what's particularly interesting about Gupta is her background.
Okay.
She has a long history of involvement with the Rashtriya Swayamsevak the RSS, and the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, the ABVP.
Okay.
These are organizations that are ideologically aligned with the BJP, and they emphasize a particular worldview rooted in cultural nationalism and social conservatism.
So I see. So her appointment could be a way for the BJP to strengthen its face and promote its ideology within the government.
That's a very astute observation.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting for those of you preparing for exams like the UPSC.
Yeah.
You need to think about the potential implications of Gupta's background on her governance style and policy choices.
So, for example, how might her background influence her approach to issues like education or cultural policy?
Precisely, the RSS and the ABGP have strong views on these matters, advocating for a curriculum that emphasizes Indian culture and values and a social policy that aligns with their conservative outlook.
Gotcha.
So it's worth considering how Gupta might bring these perspectives to her role as chief minister.
Okay, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, moving on to another major story that's making headlines. Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs.
Okay.
I have to admit, this whole trade war thing can get a bit confusing. Can you break it down for us?
Of course. So a tariff is essentially a tax imposed on goods imported from another country.
Okay.
Trump's reciprocal tariff strategy is based on the idea of matching the tariffs that other countries impose on American goods.
Okay.
So if India, for example, has a high tariff on American cars, Trump would retaliate by imposing a similarly high tariff on Indian goods coming into the U.S.
I see. So it's like a tit-for-tat approach to trade.
Right.
But what's the goal here? Is it just about punishing other countries, or is there a bigger strategy at play?
Well, the stated goal is to protect American businesses and workers from what Trump sees as unfair trade practices.
Okay.
He argued that these reciprocal tariffs will force other countries to lower their tariffs and create a more level playing field for American companies.
But couldn't this also backfire and hurt the global economy, including India's?
It certainly could. When countries impose tariffs on each other, it makes goods more expensive for consumers and can disrupt global supply chains.
Yep.
This can lead to economic slowdown and even recession in severe cases.
Okay, so there are potential risks and benefits to this approach. It's like a high-stakes game of chess, with each move having consequences for the global economy.
Exactly.
Now, shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
There's a controversy brewing over the appointment of India's chief election commissioner. Can you explain what this role is and why this appointment is causing so much debate?
Absolutely. The Chief Election Commissioner, or CEC, is the head of the Election Commission of India, an independent body responsible for conducting free and fair elections in the country.
Okay.
It's a crucial role in a democracy,
Yeah.
as the CEC has the power to ensure that elections are conducted impartially and that the votes of the people are counted accurately.
Right.
Now, the controversy stems from the process by which the CEC is appointed.
So how is the CEC appointed, and why is the current process being challenged?
Under the current law, the CEC is appointed by the President of India based on the recommendation of a committee.
Okay.
That includes the Prime Minister and a Union Cabinet Minister. This has raised concerns about the potential for political influence in the selection process.
So critics are worried that the government might try to appoint someone who's favorable to them, potentially undermining the independence of the Election Commission.
That's the crux of the argument.
Okay.
They argue that a truly independent CEC should be appointed through a process that is free from any perceived or actual bias.
Right.
This is where the Supreme Court comes in.
Okay.
Several petitions have been filed challenging the current appointment process, arguing that it violates the principle of an independent election body.
Right. So the Supreme Court's decision on this matter could have major implications for the future of electoral governance in India.
Exactly.
It's a case worth watching closely. Now, from the halls of justice to a different kind of conflict.
All right.
The Mullaperiyar Dam is causing serious tension between the states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala.
Okay.
What's the history here, and why is this dam such a contentious issue?
The Mullaperiyar Dam has a long and complicated history dating back to the late 19th century when it was built by the British scale. It's located in Kerala but is operated by Tamil Nadu under a 999-year lease agreement.
Wow.
The dam is a major source of water for irrigation in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
But over the years, concerns have grown about its safety,
Yeah.
especially given its age and the fact that it's located in an earthquake-prone zone.
So you have Kerala worried about the potential for a dam failure, which could have devastating consequences,
Right.
and Tamil Nadu reliant on the dam for its water needs?
Exactly.
That sounds like a recipe for conflict.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And the dispute has been simmering for decades, with both states taking their case to the Supreme Court multiple times.
Oh, wow.
The Supreme Court has tried to find a solution that addresses both the safety concerns and the water needs, but it's a delicate balancing act that has yet to fully satisfy either state.
This situation really highlights the complexities of managing shared resources,
Right.
especially when you have history, geography, and safety concerns all intertwined.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick look at another story that's generating buzz.
Okay.
If time in the realm of technology and disaster preparedness.
You must be referring to the report by the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure?
That's the one. This report is raising some red flags about the resilience of India's telecom infrastructure.
Right.
With 5G rolling out and everyone talking about speed and connectivity, are we overlooking a crucial aspect? Can our networks withstand a major disaster?
That's a critical question, and CERI report highlights some vulnerabilities that need to be addressed.
Okay.
India's telecom networks rely heavily on power grids,
Yeah?
cell towers, and fiber optic cables,
Uh-huh.
all of which are susceptible to damage during disasters like cyclones, floods, or earthquakes.
So what happens if the power goes out or a cell tower collapses? Does communication go dark?
That's the risk, and it's a significant one.
Yeah.
During a disaster, communication networks are lifelines.
Right.
People need to be able to contact emergency services,
Right.
check on loved ones, and receive critical information. If those networks go down, it can hamper rescue efforts, increase panic, and lead to greater loss of life.
So what can be done to make our telecom infrastructure more resilient? Does the CDRI report offer any solutions?
It does.
Okay.
The report recommends several steps that India can take to strengthen its telecom networks against disasters.
Okay.
These include investing in more robust power infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
building sturdier cell towers, especially in coastal areas prone to cyclones,
Right?
and exploring the use of underground cables,
Okay.
which are less vulnerable to damage.
So it's not just about building faster networks.
Right.
It's about building smarter networks.
Exactly.
Networks that can withstand the shocks of a disaster and continue to function when people need them the most.
Precisely.
Now, for a story that's sure to captivate history buffs and make us rethink what we thought we knew about ancient India,
Okay.
new evidence is emerging that suggests the Iron Age might have begun not in northern India as previously believed, but in
Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating discovery that has the potential to rewrite our understanding of early Indian history.
It is.
Archaeologists have unearthed iron artifacts in Tamil Nadu that date back to around 2200 BCE, making them older than any Iron Age artifacts found in northern India.
That's right.
Wow, that's a significant difference in timelines.
Yes.
What are the implications of this discovery?
Well, for starters, it challenges the traditional narrative that technological advancements in ancient India flowed from north to south.
Right.
This discovery suggests that different regions might have developed their own unique paths to innovation.
So we're not talking about a single uniform Iron Age, but rather a more complex and nuanced story of technological development across different parts of India.
Exactly.
And this is a key takeaway for anyone studying Indian history.
Yeah,
India has always been incredibly diverse, and its history is no exception.
right.
We need to be wary of monolithic narratives and embrace the richness and complexity of regional variations.
Yep.
This discovery into Moladu is a perfect example of how new evidence can challenge our assumptions and open up exciting new avenues of inquiry.
It's a reminder that history is a constantly evolving field.
Yeah.
And there's always more to learn and discover.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to a region that's been grappling with a complex and tragic crisis.
Okay.
The situation in Manipur is indeed a cause for deep concern.
It is.
Ethnic violence, displacement, and a breakdown of trust in the government have created a humanitarian crisis that demands urgent attention.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation.
The conflict between the Meitei and Kuki communities has been simmering for years, but recent events have brought it to a boiling point,
Right.
leading to widespread violence and displacement. What's at the heart of this conflict?
It's a complex interplay of historical grievances, land disputes, and identity politics.
Okay.
The Meitei community, which is predominantly Hindu, is concentrated in the Imphal Valley and holds a majority in the state legislature. The Kuki community, which is largely Christian, is spread across the hill districts and feels marginalized by the Meitei-dominated government.
So there's a sense of inequality and lack of representation that's fueling resentment and conflict.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this has been exacerbated by recent government policies, such as a proposed survey to identify and evict illegal immigrants,
Okay.
which the Kuki community sees as targeting them unfairly.
This is where the editorial we discussed earlier calling for greater common good politics comes into play.
Right.
Can you elaborate on what this means in the context of Manipur?
It means moving away from divisive rhetoric and policies that pit communities against each other.
Okay.
It means recognizing and addressing the legitimate grievances of all communities, including the Kuki community. It means finding ways to share power and resources more equitably and creating a sense of inclusiveness where all communities feel valued and respected.
So it's about shifting from a zero-sum game
Right?
to a win-win approach,
Exactly.
where everyone has a stake in the future of Manipur.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a concerted effort from all sides,
Right.
the government, civil
Yeah.
society,
Yeah.
and the communities themselves to bridge the divides and build a more just and peaceful society.
And to add another layer of complexity to the situation,
Okay.
Manipur shares a porous border with Myanmar, which is facing its own political turmoil.
That's right.
Right.
The ongoing conflict in Myanmar has led to an influx of refugees into Manipur,
Right.
putting further strain on resources and adding to the security challenges in the region.
Okay.
India's decision to suspend the free movement regime along the border
Mhm.
has been an attempt to control the flow of people and goods,
Yeah.
but it has also disrupted traditional cross-border ties and livelihoods.
It seems like India is trying to walk a tightrope here,
Right.
balancing its security concerns with the needs of border communities.
It's a delicate balancing act, and there are no easy solutions.
Right.
Finding a sustainable approach that addresses both the security and humanitarian dimensions of the situation is going to require a long-term strategy
Yeah.
and a commitment to dialogue and cooperation with Myanmar.
Okay, that was a lot to take in. We've covered a wide range of topics today, from political appointments to trade wars, historical discoveries, to humanitarian crises.
It has been a very wide-ranging conversation.
What's remarkable is how these seemingly disparate events are all interconnected in some way.
They are.
They shed light on the complexities of governance, the challenges of globalization, and the enduring human need for security, justice, and belonging.
Yeah, right.
And for those of you preparing for exams like the UPSC,
Yes.
I think this highlights the importance of not just memorizing facts, but connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture,
Right.
and understanding the underlying forces that shape our world.
Absolutely.
Well, we've reached the end of part 1 of our deep dive, but we have plenty more to discuss.
Okay.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into these critical current affairs issues, providing you with the insights and analysis you need to stay informed and engaged.
I'll be here.
Great, and in the meantime, we encourage you to like, share, and comment on this video.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of current affairs.
Sounds good.
See you in part 2.
All right. Welcome back to our deep dive into current affairs.
We're picking up where we left off, continuing to explore the PDF you shared with us.
It's packed with insightful analysis and thought-provoking perspectives on the events shaping our world.
And as a reminder, this deep dive is specially designed for those of you who are new to the world of current affairs, particularly if you're preparing for exams like the UPSC.
We're breaking down complex topics into digestible pieces, providing you with the context and analysis you need to excel.
So let's dive right back into the Hindus coverage.
There's one story that I think deserves a closer look, one that has the potential to rewrite history as we know it.
You must be talking about the discovery that's challenging the traditional narrative of the Iron Age in India.
That's right. For years, it was widely believed that the Iron Age began in northern India around 1200 BCE
Right.
and gradually spread southward.
But recent archaeological findings in Tamil Nadu are turning that assumption on its head.
Exactly. Excavations at a site called Mailadimpurai have unearthed iron artifacts dating back to around 2200 BCE,
Wow.
making them significantly older than any Iron Age artifacts found in the north.
That's a game changer. It suggests that the Iron Age might have actually originated in southern India and then spread northward.
It's a fascinating possibility that opens up a whole new avenue of inquiry for historians and archaeologists.
And it highlights the importance of regional diversity and understanding India's past.
Precisely, India has always been a tapestry of cultures and civilizations, each with its own unique story to tell.
This discovery in Tamil Nadu reminds us that the history of India is not a monolithic narrative, but a rich and multifaceted tapestry woven from the experiences of diverse regions.
And it's crucial to recognize and celebrate that diversity as we explore our past.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of perspectives, there's an opinion piece in Hindu that caught my attention.
Okay.
It's titled President's Rule and the Road Ahead.
Ah, yes. That piece delves into a rather contentious issue in Indian politics, the imposition of president's rule in states.
For those who may not be familiar with this concept, could you explain what President's Rule is and why it's so controversial?
Of course, president's rule is a provision in the Indian Constitution that allows the central government to take direct control of a state's administration if there's a breakdown of constitutional machinery.
So essentially, the central government steps in and takes over the state government's functions.
That's right. It's meant to be a temporary measure used in exceptional circumstances, such as when a state government is unable to function effectively or maintain law and order.
But the use of President's Rule has often been criticized for being politically motivated.
That's a valid concern. Critics argue that the central government has sometimes misused president's rule to dismiss state governments that are opposed to the ruling party at the center.
So it's seen as a way for the central government to exert its authority over states and undermine the principles of federalism.
Precisely, and that's why the opinion piece in the Hindu is so relevant.
Okay.
It argues for a more nuanced and transparent approach to the imposition of president's rule.
The author seems to be advocating for clear guidelines and safeguards to prevent its misuse.
That's right. The piece calls for greater accountability, judicial oversight, and a more rigorous assessment of the necessity of imposing president's rule.
So it's about striking a balance between maintaining national unity and respecting the autonomy of states.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance that's crucial for the healthy functioning of India's democracy.
Now let's shift our focus back to the situation in Manipur.
We discussed the humanitarian crisis unfolding there earlier, but there's another aspect that deserves our attention, the impact of the conflict on the border region with Myanmar.
Right, Manipur shares a long and porous border with Myanmar, and the ongoing unrest in that country is having spillover effects.
The conflict in Myanmar has led to an influx of refugees into Manipur, putting a strain on resources and raising security concerns.
And India's decision to suspend the free movement regime, which allowed people living along the border to move freely across for trade and social interactions, has further complicated the situation.
The suspension of the free movement regime was intended to enhance security and prevent the movement of insurgents and weapons across the border.
But it has also had unintended consequences for border communities, disrupting their traditional ways of life and livelihoods.
It highlights the challenges of managing a complex border region in the midst of conflict and instability.
And it underscores the need for a multi-pronged approach that addresses both security concerns and the humanitarian needs of border communities.
Absolutely. Finding a sustainable solution will require a combination of diplomacy development initiatives and security measures.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this segment, but we're not done yet. There's still so much to unpack in this PDF.
We'll continue our exploration in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned for more insights and analysis as we delve deeper into the events shaping our world. Welcome back to our deep dive into current affairs.
We're continuing our exploration of the PDF you've provided, unpacking some of the most pressing issues of our time.
And as always, we're keeping in mind those of you who are new to the world of current affairs, especially those prepping for competitive exams.
Right.
We're breaking down these complex topics, making them accessible and relevant to your journey.
Absolutely.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to circle back to the situation in Manipur.
It's a crisis that deserves our continued attention.
We've discussed the ethnic violence, the displacement, the humanitarian challenges.
It's a very complex situation.
But there's one aspect that I think we need to explore further, the role of the government.
Yeah, the PDF we're analyzing includes some sharp critiques of the government's handling of the situation.
Right, some argue that the government's response has been slow and inadequate.
They point to the lack of progress in disarming militant groups and the failure to address the underlying causes of the conflict.
There's a sense that the government hasn't done enough to build trust and foster reconciliation between communities.
The PDF also highlights the need for greater accountability and transparency in the government's actions.
There are calls for an independent inquiry into the violence.
Right.
And for a more inclusive approach to governance that addresses the concerns of all communities.
So it's not just about restoring law and order, but about addressing the root causes of the conflict and creating a more just and equitable society.
Precisely, the government has a crucial role to play in healing the wounds of this conflict and building a lasting peace.
A long road ahead.
Well, I think this deep dive has really highlighted the importance of staying informed, especially for those of us who aspire to shape a better future.
Absolutely.
Current affairs are not just about knowing what's happening, but about understanding why it matters and what we can do to make a difference.
It's about being engaged.
Whether we're talking about leadership changes, trade wars, historical discoveries, or humanitarian crises, it's all interconnected.
Yeah, the world is a complex place.
And by engaging with these issues, we become more informed citizens, better equipped to navigate the complexities of our world.
Absolutely.
So to all our listeners out there, especially those prepping for the UPSC and other exams, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep connecting the dots.
Stay curious.
And never underestimate the power of informed action.
Well said.
That's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
But the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to share, and comment on this video, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of current affairs.
And until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay tuned.
We'll see you in the next video.